My shit loading? Hello? Okay, my sound's working. Let's go to Twitch. Hello? Perfect. Alright, we're good. Just gonna close both of those. I'm just gonna leave OBS on. Yeah. Oh, okay. This actually. I've been meaning to do this for a while. I've debated it. And some clothes that I can get rid of or get dirty, so. That's why we're wearing this chopped shit. Man, that Arizona good as hell. Alright. I'm gonna get some music going for me. I don't know how much talking I'm gonna do this stream. Probably gonna be pretty silent if I'm gonna be honest. Shit, I might even mute myself. I don't even know yet. I don't even know. But I'm gonna be doing. I'm not opening Pokemon for once. I already did that today with some friends. Opened some Prisma. I got a trainer IR. That's about it. Actually, then I top loaded my cards too. I could bring those down, but I'm too lazy. And I want to get to this because this project needs to get done. I just kind of started the stream on a whim. This project's like almost done. I have a couple steps. I gotta paint rocks. I gotta add rocks. Paint rocks, add more rocks. Paint those rocks. Then I gotta glue down these trees. I gotta grab my other base. I gotta glue in the other base that goes under this. Alright. I think I'm just gonna start. I'd like to show my other diorama, or like the other half, as much as I would. That's just gonna take time, and time is like, I know I still got 2 days left of my break, but my little break here. But I'd like to get this stuff done. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna do much talking. I gotta mix some paints. And yeah. But what actual? I can always water wash these later. All right. A little bit much black. Fine. I kind of wished I would have gone through the whole process of this on stream. I might walk you through the steps later once I'm completely done with the project, but I debated streaming the whole thing. I could have, but that would have been many very long streams. And more effort than I was willing to put in at the time. I should probably just pull these trees off, but I don't really got a place to stick them without them falling over. Actually. Honestly, they're gonna be more of a pain in the ass than anything, so you know what? Fuck it. I'm laying them out on my paper towels over here. There we go. That frees up a lot of space to just be able to brush. Alright. I'll be back. Alright, I'm back. We on some Bob Ross shit today, man. Fuck, my headphones get that tangled. This whole area over here is a fucking mess, dude. Absolute war zone. Let's chill. Music today's alright. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna work on back here the mouse. Or here. I should have taken better care of this poor brush. A bit of use, it'll fix itself, but to 3004. Shit. Alright, I'm back. I'm almost done with my rocks. Fuck. Then I need to do roots. I'll do roots next. No, it's fine. Per request. Drop it in GPS. Use the fornication. Run me to find the reservations. That's a butterfly effect. Yeah. That's a flex. Yeah. Now I'm sure somebody's probably wondering why I didn't paint before adding the rocks to the base. And as much as I would have liked to, these rocks are made out of plaster of Paris, which at least mine was crumbling to dust. So, I had to get a layer of Mod Podge on before it would vaporize pretty much or crumble to dust. So that's why I just Mod Podged it to the base and covered them in Mod Podge. So they won't fall apart and they can be a little bit more rounded, which gives them a better look in my opinion. Especially considering this is supposed to hold 1/100th scale models. Doesn't really need to be high definition. Or at least super high definition. And I'm sure somebody's going to question why the trees are so big. Because I wanted them to be. I don't know. I wanted the fight scene that I'm building to look cool in a big, deep forest. Or with super tall trees. Different frame. Put down son of what didn't know what that meant with me handstand. Ooh, I could appreciated this. It's fine. The shadows themselves will also cast pretty good, so I'm using a relatively dark gray, so I'm probably alright. Didn't know what that man fucking with me handstand. Huh. Smell of that paint isn't pleasant. Isn't actually that bad, but fairly certain it's non-toxic. Bum, ba, ya, 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 bum, 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 bum. Oh, Here I am. Bum, bum, bum. My background, you can see the music going. That's funny. An eyelash? Am I a genius? Hold up. It doesn't give me good lighting, but it does give me very good look at what I'm actually painting on underhangs. About time to rinse this brush in water. Alright, nah. I'm gonna need to remix some paint. Alrighty. That paint is starting to not look too good. We're lucky. That paint thing did not explode. We're good. I have a lot of white, but like not very much black. Yeah. Coming up on the last of my black. That's probably enough. Let's be realistic. Okay, buddy. Okay, thanks for getting gray all over my desk. It's fine, I don't really care. I want to see how this new mix of paint turns out on next to the old. I think it'll be alright. It'll probably be fine, I'm gonna be honest. The colors are very similar. Seems like a color matched perfectly. Good. Ooh. Underhang. I don't need that much paint. Oh no, no. Also, if I get any paint on the base, it's not really that big of a deal. Because I'm going to go back and with this small brush and tune up the ground later with a ground color. Once I've made every adjustment I want. It's like my last step with some of the bases. I want these to turn out perfect. So ooh. We're good. Ah! Ooh. Ooh. Just keep watching. Oh boy. Just keep watching. Just keep watching. Come on, please. Damn, no more Arizona. Mm-hmm. Ah! Did you get? I'm almost needing a paint change again. That didn't work. Sorry. Well, I'll just paint change. I'll be back. Paint change time! I may have mixed a little bit too much gray. Bruh. Wow. How the fuck Spotify? I have the CD, but Spotify doesn't have it on digital. What time is it? Damn, it's already 5:30. Time flies. Boom. Ba-da-dum, ba-da-dum, ba-dum. These rocks look nearly perfect. Make a splash to make this cut. Yo, this is the front rock. How did I miss this? I mean, I guess it is a pretty complex shape. I have a lot of wasted paint, but really isn't that much, but oh, well, there goes my camera's battery. Shit. Okay. Hold up. Hold up. The fuck's my Spotify doing? There we go. There's battery one, Dad. Let's see if battery two will bring us back to life. Oh my god. Battery 2 brings us back to life. Oh, 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 we're there. We're back. She leaves. Alrighty. Ooh. I'm glad I tilted up this, because I was like, I didn't think I completely 100% looked over this side. Thought I did a good job. But you know, I'm looking for perfection. Shit, I keep tapping my mic. Alright, that's enough. That's enough painting. Stopping that there. I'll be back. Crap, I don't think I updated my stream information. Probably still set to Pokemon opening. Whoopsies. Whatever. I'm too lazy to care. Yeah. Gimme. Good. Fucking slug got off my window. Shit was disgusting. Sitting there earlier. Alright. So, my rocks are painted. Man, fuck touching up. And it looks fine, if I'm going to be completely honest. Doesn't actually look that. EVH. Doesn't look that bad. So, I don't really think I need to touch it up. Because that would just mean I mix colors, mix more colors, and it's fine. Because the gray already mixes with the ground pretty decently. There are some areas that I'm sure I'm gonna do something with, but also around all these big rocks are gonna be tiny rocks. Got right here. Which is low-key our next step. Is rocking. Oh yeah, well, let's get to it. Okay. Let's put away our paint. Rocking is by far my least favorite. Actually, you know what? That's a lie. Rocking isn't that bad. It can just be a little annoying. This piece of paper should work, I think. Yeah, this piece of paper should work. Okay. No. All right. Okie dokie, okie dokie, okie dokie. Yeah, my camera lens looks fine. It's all nice and clean. Okay. You'd like to know what I'm about to do. You know what? I'll just go through it real quick. So, when I made my river on my other half of this diorama, I used this in not the entire bottle of spray glue because I used the spray glue to make the trees, but like I've already used all this. What I have in here now is a mix of just Mod Podge Matte Mate and water, which also honestly works as a pretty solid spray glue too, just shooting it straight out of this bottle. It is definitely not as good. It doesn't atomize nearly as well as this stuff, the non-gloss finish Mod Podge Ultra spray, whatever, matte mate. They're essentially the same thing, just this one was actually made to be sprayed. And it kind of also one thing to note with this product, the Mod Podge matte mate Ultra, whatever, this spray glue, I guess. One thing to note with this is when you're spraying it, be careful of what you're spraying it onto and just the area around, because you can't really tell here, but from different angles, actually it's actually gone away because I've cleaned this desk like a million times now, but this stuff, really what it does is like, or really what it does to the stuff underneath, like even if I spray from like here, there's gonna be a little bit that gets onto my desk, right? And it kind of just like, I don't want to say stains because it comes out, but it almost like stains it. So I'd just be very careful of that, and kind of how you use it. Just be careful. Just be careful with it, and make sure whatever you have under, or have like what I've done in the past is like I left like paper towels under where I was spraying, and then I'd spray. But now that I'm just using a mix of this and water, it still has that issue. It's just not as bad, and the spritzer or atomizer on the top isn't really as good working with that, because this is I mean, it's more viscous, but I mean, I have a majority of this is water. But I did that for the river, and that was kind of a waste of the spray glue. I mean, it works. Like, it really does work. It works pretty good, actually, but what I'd actually recommend is mixing the Mod Podge Matte Mate with water, and then just using like a mix. Well, you'll see what I'm going to do here. And then putting it into a cup when you're placing down the gravel. Put it into a cup, your mixture, and you really don't need a lot, because it just doesn't take a lot to hold the gravel down. But you're going to take that, get it into your pipette, and once you have like gravel down, just drop water droplets on, and drop them from somewhat high up, I'd say, because the water bubble might just like sit on the rocks for a bit, and you don't really want the bubble. So I drop it from usually about like here, so it's high enough that like the sharp, not really sharp, but the edges of the rocks will break the bubble, but also it won't move the rocks around. And other things to note when you're doing this is it gets very messy very quickly. All right. That is one thing I would recommend taking into consideration with the gravel, is that it gets very messy very, very quickly. What I usually do is I pour it out onto like a piece of paper. I pour what I'm going to use out onto a piece of paper here. Oh shit, my camera's trying to turn itself off again. Cancel. What I recommend you do is you pour it out onto like any piece of just like blank white paper. It doesn't need to be white, but white with this type of gravel makes it very visible. This is just some Woodland Scenics Blast Gray Course. This is like 20 years old. This is my dad's old stuff. But what I recommend is then you just, wherever you need gravel, like here on these rocks, I'm gonna need some gravel, right? I'm gonna want gravel around the rocks to kind of just like form up, I don't know, like kind of a barrier around it, or not much as a barrier, but more of like, just think about it. Let's say like wind is hitting a rock, right? It's gonna move smaller rocks. If the wind picks up enough, it'll move smaller rocks on up against the larger rock. So that's kind of what I usually do. I've been doing with this. And it worked out really good on my other diorama. Which, you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna bring that over here. It worked out really good on the other half, which I've more or less completed. Um, it's not necessarily done yet, but okay. So this is the back. It's gonna connect, like, they're gonna connect to each other kind of like that. You can see I'm not gonna go over the process. I might make a video or something on that, but you can see all the rocks. I have my river painted. My plan is to pour acrylic, or not acrylic, resin. I'm gonna resin pour this, which is why I've hard coated this entire, basically this whole thing has been hard coated at least once. Wherever there is foam has been hard coated. Like all of this has been hard coated with the Mod Podge hard coat. Not this, but I have some in my closet. And that is just to try to protect the foam. I don't know if it'll melt. It melted with my spray paint that I used, which at the time I was kind of pissed about, but like I kind of thought about it, and if I'm gonna be honest, I kind of wish this other section wasn't raised up, because over here on this it has the XPS foam, and then several layers, because my other base is a little taller than this guy right here, which is the base, the Gundam stand for this. It's just the Bandai plastic stand. I wasn't going to do anything metal and drilling and too much effort. And I don't really care as much for at least the Gundams having something sticking into their, like, body, I guess. Much as I do for some of these other things, which I took. Now, you might know the model kit this is from, which is gonna be the other model kit that I'm gonna use for this project. But which is gonna go onto this base. It has a whole light kit integrated, and I really wanted to kind of get that feature, so I got some clear straws and I sawed the like, whatever these were. They were like arms. They were these arms to hold up these shields like this. I just cut the fucking last piece off that I could, so then I could run. I can run the cable through a straw, and I think I'm going to hot glue or super glue this to the top, and then in the end it should look something like this, but just standing up like that, and I can kind of connect that to the base, and it's going to look super cool, is my plan. And then I can run the cable through the bottom. It's from a unicorn Gundam. No, it's like, it's not the, I don't think there's a perfect grade. It's the master grade EX or whatever. I think the model kit itself was like, what? I think it was like $250. Super fun model kit though. Just put that one together. But this one, I used. I kind of went on a tangent there, didn't I? Where in the fuck? Okay, it's right here. But this one I used especially right here to just like put some of the Mod Podge on to help the gravel stay strong and firmly to the base. If I'm gonna be honest, I might actually need to go do another layer there, but that'll come another day. I'm not feeling like doing that right now. But you can see how I kind of built up rocks around my larger rocks. I built up rocks around my rocks. This section technically isn't done yet because it's not just going to be barren ground. I have lots of grass that I'm going to put down here. I'm going to layer grass on. I think it's going to look really good. But that's several steps away. I think I'm just going to lay gravel today. I think that's what I'm going to do. maybe I'll lay gravel everywhere that's not around these trees, because those trees I'm gonna need to put some roots down into. So I probably should have done that first. But that's all right. I don't want to break out the clay and in steel wire to like do that, so it's fine. That's this other section here. Um, it's relatively all painted, I think. But it's gonna go. I haven't decided what I'm gonna really do with all this yet. I mean, I have a acrylic display case for it, but um, I've thought about being like trying to sell it, but I don't know if I really want to. I mean, I'm sure it's been like a thought, but yeah, you can kind of see if you gotta get like a little base coat in first to like give the rock something to actually grip onto. And that's really when they'll start to actually stick. Yeah, now they're moving back to being more fluid. Yeah. Now they're looking more fluid and in there. All right. All right. And with some of these, there's some other things I'd recommend, like taking, like having a paintbrush on hand. This is just one of the ones I used earlier. Um, Having a paintbrush on hand can really help break some of these bubbles. Same with like having like an X-Acto knife on hand or a hobby knife. Can what the fuck? That rock's floating. Okay. Having an X-Acto knife or like a hobby knife on hand can really help to pop some of the bubbles when they form. Also, I like using this because it gives you more control over kind of how your rocks are laid down, or at least like the Mod Podge mix that I'm using gives me more control over that, which I usually like. Like you can see, oh my god, it's gonna get everywhere, and it's gonna get everywhere real fast. Can also use the thing as kind of like a siphon to get some water off, or the Mod Podge off, because I don't really want it to be a thick coat. Because in the end, you really want the water to kind of melt away, not melt away. You want the water to evaporate, and you want your Mod Podge to really be the only thing left, and just leave that holding in your. Okay, I am so out of it. What am I doing? What in the world am I doing? I really just tried to reach into the cup filled with the. Okay. So I'm not locked in by any means here. I am gone, apparently. Apparently I am. Grant has left. TEETERZ is gone. My brain has left the room. I really wish, like, I don't know if I could use a pipette or something to like pick up the gravel. I really wish I could do that, because it would make this process way easier if I could just like drop the gravel just as easy as I'm dropping this the liquid mix. And there you go. Once the liquid starts to like get onto the walls of things is when it really starts to like it'll flow everywhere. And that's kind of the point of mixing the Mod Podge with the water, is to really get the Mod Podge to be more pliable and flowing around things, cuz once it's actually flowing, then it makes your job like 10 times easier. Cuz you don't have to paint it on or spray it on. And there goes some rocks flying. It's fine. I don't really care. It doesn't matter. My room is in such shambles that like any of these little Mod Podge or rocks going Mod Podge mistakes or rocks flying everywhere doesn't really matter to me. I'm gonna be honest. Even here, like you can see me where I just like I'll just paint on a little bit of Mod Podge and then drop the rocks on, and maybe I'll even just. Because in the end, you really just want your rocks to be really sturdy and connected to your base. And if I'm going to be honest, I haven't really worried much about like possible leakage. I mean, it did happen on my other model, or on my other base, where like the mixture kind of escaped the base, I guess. Somehow got through the bottom, maybe. I mean, if that's something if you're like working on a table or something you actually care about, then I really don't think a project like this is really all that good for you. I'm gonna be honest, mainly because like the hazards of your table under you. I mean, not to mention like all the knives that you use to build the model kits. Like it can get dangerous for your desk very quickly. And I mean, at least for me, I was at a store and it was like I could have gotten a hobby mat and I was like, okay, what is it, $75? I'm like, maybe I'll get one. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, well, or I actually it may have been even like $120 for like the size that I want, and I'm like, or shit, maybe even more. I don't know. But they were relatively expensive. So then I was thinking to myself, well, what's the price of just replacing the top of my table? Well, to replace this entire top of my table is probably like $150 at IKEA. So it's more effective to just like completely destroy the top of this table and then replace it in 5 years when it's like completely in shambles than it is to just buy something that sure might save me $150 in the end, but like doesn't really it doesn't really do anything. It's just kind of there. I guess it preserves it. It depends on what you want to preserve. If it's your table or like your wallet, I guess. I don't know. Here you'll see like I don't got real good camera angles, but there I had to like pop one of the little glue bubbles. Form. You can just use this. Man, what? Okay. That looks pretty damn good, I'm gonna be honest. I'm probably gonna add more later, but it's fine. Oh, I didn't mention earlier, did I? But the reason I put the gravel onto the paper is so I can kind of rebuild my pile when I need to. All I have to do is move the paper a little bit to get it all into one spot again. But besides that, what the paper really does is it can allow you to use the special technique of doing this and then just kind of shaking it a little bit to get your gravel out. Kind of just funnels it, I'm going to be honest. Super helpful when you're trying to place a lot of gravel in one spot. I'm not even going to attempt to place gravel on the back of this thing yet. That looks good. That's also why I got my monojector here, is to get glue into tighter spaces. Although I really don't recommend the monoject because it might be very precise, but the pressure in it really moves the rocks. So excuse me. So that if you're gonna use the monoject, use it in like these little holes here, or any little holes or little places in between rocks is where to use it, I'd say. Swear to God, bro. Like there where it doesn't really want to work with you, take a little bit into the monoject, and then you can. Because the monoject usually comes out really, really quickly. Oh, right there isn't actually painted. That's not good. I don't really feel like going back and fixing that. So, here's what we're going to do. Yeah, you could even, I don't know if my mic picked that up, but you could even hear how fast the monoject was shooting out glue. Yeah, I just had a big drip. That's all right. It's like I said earlier, I'm much less worried about this mixture than I am the previous mixture. Because the previous mixture really didn't really mess up my table, but it got like stuck onto my table and wouldn't really let go. I need water again, man. That's a hair. I think grasses and ferns are going to be the last thing that I add. I know a lot of people might say that grasses, ferns, then trees are last, but I put my trees on early, I'm going to be honest. I did them early because, well, it's kind of just bored, I'm going to be honest. And I was like procrastinating on them. I was like, I got to make these, and then I had nowhere to put them, so I just wound up just putting them, like, not putting them on the model yet at the time, but I just like left them there sitting, and then I finally glued them just a little bit ago. And you can really, now you can really see how much glue I just used. I used quite a bit to get everything in there. I probably, not even probably, I very much overdid it, but that's alright. It's the reason I got paper towels here. I can just kind of just soak it up. Yeah, you can even just, you can see how much it's just grabbing now off the model. Oop. Oops, it's fine. Also, I'd recommend having some sort of like fine tool when doing a project. When doing a project like this and doing like projects in general, having like some fine, very fine tool to just like be able to grab things really, really does help, if I'm going to be honest. I think, oh, that was, okay. We are not locked in again. But it really does, it really, really does improve the workingness of this. If that makes any sense. It really does improve like how fast you can work and how easy it is to work with. That's a little not really what I wanted. I didn't really want lots of gravel on it. Oh, my hands have stuff on them, don't they? Okay. That's why the stuff wasn't just... That's why the gravel wasn't falling off my hands. They get a little bit of glue on them. I mean, even you could use the monoject, which you saw I was about to there, but voted against it. Also with this, make sure to clean everything thoroughly after. You don't want your glue, even though it might be diluted, you don't want your glue to jam up all your stuff. You don't really want that. I wouldn't say any of us want to be replacing things at faster rate than we need to. Because doing a project like this, I know how much I've sunken into this, and I know how much other people might sink into this. So, take care of your tools the best you can. Doing this was, at least doing it this way, the way I've done it, it's not been cheap. Definitely do not recommend on a budget. 100% do not recommend doing the steps that I've told you on a budget. Do not do it. No, do not do it. Whatever you do, avoid what I'm doing. If I'm gonna be honest, I did not need to go with some of the nicer materials that I have. But you know, I had the dough, to do it, so I did it. I'm sure you could achieve the same result with different materials. I mean, I debated using a little bit of outside just dirt on multiple occasions, but then I just said, well, it's fine. It'll turn out fine. So, and it's turned out fine, but this is really where you're going to start to see all the rocks just fall off the edge. It's also where now that you know they're falling off the edge, you can kind of just start to... I just squirted a bunch on there, and then it just went straight down. Yep. But the eyedropper method, I'd say the eyedropper method is 100% the way to go with this. 100%. There's no other way. The eyedropper method has got to be the cheapest and most effective way of doing the gravel. At least, even I think it. I mean, I didn't, and I'm not sparing no expenses with this. It is definitely the way to go. Let's just use an eyedropper. I mean, this one's a glass one, I think, but don't need a glass one. This is just what I had lying around. I'm gonna be completely honest. See, I think I grabbed this from my dad. He used to do small miniatures for, I don't know if it was either Dungeons and Dragons or something else, but he'd made lots of little miniatures. So kind of just grabbed this from his from his box. He probably used this for what I also use this for, which is applying. I've used this for applying water washes on some things. So far, I've probably used it on. Actually, no, I didn't use it on the river, but I know what I did use it on, and I used it on some of the other rocks here because I gotta paint all these. I gotta place these rocks, and then you gotta paint them all too. Placing them is only half the work. And usually what I've done to paint them in the past with earlier in this diorama was what I used to paint them was I just use these paint brushes along with doing very different things with how I'm coating. So I do like one run over with just straight of the color or a dry brush of the color, and then I would take maybe some accent or highlight colors, and then I'd run those over as a wet wash, and then wet wash everything, all the rocks. Because the nice part about the wet wash is that putting it like on something on the tops of these rocks, like see here where these are going to be very hard to paint without painting the larger rock. Doing wet washes on that is super easy because the darker even doing a dark wet wash still isn't particularly hard on these rocks, and it's just because since you're using more water than you are paint, it can blend really easily into the gray. Okay, I'm just gonna squeeze a bunch into that little spot. Don't want any areas to be dry, because with this, dry means not sticking, and not sticking means, well, no fun. So you don't want to repeat the step and or pick it up and everything to fall straight off. At least I sure don't want everything to fall straight off. That would be a lot of wasted effort. Especially with some of these things where it's like I'm placing layer by layer by layer by layer by layer. You can see it as it starts to dry. really does harden pretty quickly. But you can see it like over here. Since the camera's not going to focus on it, I'll describe it. Over here, the water really starts to evaporate, and then you're just left with the Mod Podge, which takes significantly, I think, longer to harden. And what I've done in the past is just really let it dry overnight. Is what I found is the best thing with this has just been letting everything dry overnight, unless it's paints. Paints usually take about 20 to 30 minutes to dry. And with this, you saw me go from painting straight into doing this. Usually you can do that. Just be careful. You don't immediately focus on gluing rocks to areas you've just painted. I definitely would not recommend that. That'll probably lead you into a lot of trouble with messing up your paint. Not really the glue, but the paint and the rocks might mix colors, and that could lead up to an undesired result. I've probably overdone it on most of these areas like this. This really does not need to be this gravel encased. Especially this one right here. This one really doesn't need it. So that's where you can, like, come here and then just, coat the area around so that the gravel will stick once once the liquid just starts flowing out and around. It'll just start to stick out there, because you don't necessarily, I mean, especially with a spot like this, you're not really going to want all of this gravel in this one spot. Yeah, I might even actually a little more. I'll clean it up later. That's my biggest motto with something like this is I'll clean it up later. That's future Grant's problem. Future TEETER's problem, right? It's like, deal with it later. Even that may have been a little too much around these rocks, if I'm gonna be completely honest. But I think it'll turn out just fine. You can see, the higher you drop it from, the more of a splashdown it makes, but also the more it breaks on impact. Which is good, at least for the start, because then once it's already wet, the water is just gonna start flowing. It's gonna flow through all the rocks, and your problem of flow and all that has been solved. Oh, and I think there goes my camera. Yeah, there goes the camera. Oh, my camera's dead. Alrighty, well, since my camera's dead, I think that's going to be where I end it today. Yeah, I'm glad if you've tuned in at all to the stream. Thank you. If you haven't, it's fine. But I hope to stream more of this later and show you guys the finished product when it's done in probably, I don't know, maybe a month or two. I don't know. And I hope you all have a good rest of your days.